The movie begins with a night view of Barcelona. Maximo, a man, calls his son Ander to see if he's ready to leave Barcelona once Maximo finishes his work. Maximo arrives at a drug factory in Colombia, where his stepbrother Lucero goes inside the factory while Maximo and their friend Rafa stay in the car. Inside, Lucero meets the factory owner, Romeo, to make a payment. Romeo will support Lucero's father as the new leader of all criminal organizations in Europe, but with the condition that his son be given an important position. A shootout ensues between Lucero's men and Romeo's men. After killing several of Romeo's men, Lucero instructs Rafa to call his father, telling him that Romeo has escaped and the election is a trap. Lucero then orders Maximo to kill all of Romeo's men and the factory workers. Though Maximo disagrees with killing everyone, including the unarmed workers, he remains loyal to his family and to Lucero's father, who has treated him like a son. Lucero, knowing his father will arrive soon, tells Maximo to leave and start a new life with his son. Shortly after, Lucero's father arrives, furious about Lucero's actions. He had sent Lucero to Japan to learn about loyalty and honor, but Lucero had learned only the Yakuza's brutality. While being scolded, Lucero signals one of his toughest men, Chilimo, to kill his father's bodyguards, including Maria, who manages to escape. Lucero then aims a gun at his father, planning to kill him and assume leadership. Before doing so, Lucero expresses his resentment for being less loved than Maria and Mo, his father's adopted children. He asks his father to choose between head or heart, and his father responds, head. Lucero then shoots his father in the head, killing him. Chilimo informs Lucero that Maria has escaped. The scene shifts to Maximo arriving home, where he embraces his son and hands a key to the nanny. Unbeknownst to Maximo, the nanny gives the key to a mysterious man in exchange for money. As Ander plays his guitar, he notices an intruder. Maximo tells Ander to hide, but soon after, a group of attackers storms their house. Maximo fights them off initially, but a man named Fido shoots him from behind, then shoots Ander in front of Maximo, who screams in agony. Fido immobilizes Maximo and reports the incident to Lucero, who ordered the attack. Fido then blows up Maximo's house. 2 years later, a young man named Leo meets his girlfriend Daniela. Leo is a drug dealer operating on his campus and in the surrounding area. While passing an old garage, they hear loud music and discover Maximo, still alive and training hard in martial arts. That night, Leo goes home, gives the money from his drug sales to his mother, who is unaware of his job, and gives a birthday gift to his younger brother. Later, Leo receives a call from his supplier, Dro, who works for Lucero. Dro instructs Leo to sell drugs in Russian gangster territory. Although Leo initially refuses, fearing retribution from the Russians, Dro insists, leaving Leo with no choice but to comply. When Leo arrives and begins selling heroin, the Russians catch him and beat him in an empty alley, warning him not to sell drugs in their territory and threatening to kill him if he continues. Maximo, who is nearby, helps Leo by fighting off the Russians and then quickly departs. Leo follows Maximo to the old garage, where Maximo lives. While treating Leo's wounds, Maximo mentions that the guitar Leo plays belonged to his late son Ander, who used to play it. Maximo recalls the tragic incident from 2 years ago when Ander was killed, and since then, Maximo has vowed revenge on Lucero, but has struggled to find him. The next day, Leo asks Maximo to teach him self-defense, offering to teach Maximo guitar in return. Maximo agrees and starts teaching Leo basic martial arts techniques. Before leaving, Leo writes down his phone number for Maximo and requests a special toss as a sign of friendship, which reminds Maximo of Ander, as his late son used to perform the same toss. Meanwhile, Lucero is gambling with his business partners. He later calls Rafa, informing him of his plan to return to Barcelona and take over the mafia leadership from Dmitry, the Russian crime boss. At school, Leo gets another call from Dro, instructing him to sell drugs in Russian gangster territory once again. Leo refuses and hangs up, angering Dro. That night, Leo goes to the Russians to sell drugs, and Dro and his men are also present. When Leo sees Dro, he tries to flee but is caught and severely beaten. Dro discovers Leo has stolen money from drug sales and crushes his arm. The next day, Maximo is surprised when Daniela arrives, looking for Leo. She informs him that Leo might have been tortured by Dro for stealing money. Maximo contacts Leo and arranges a meeting at a church. Leo explains everything, and Maximo asks Maria for help with Leo. Maria reminds Maximo of their plan for the upcoming election for mafia leadership. That evening, Dro and his men go to a nightclub owned by Russian gangsters. Maximo follows Dro to get revenge for what Dro did to Leo. Maximo defeats Dro easily, and when Dro's men attempt to help, one recognizes Maximo and flees. After defeating Dro's men, Maximo crushes Dro's hand in retaliation. He then goes to Maria's house to check on Leo and to teach Maria martial arts. Maria reminds them of their revenge plan against Lucero. Meanwhile, Fido visits Dro, laughing at him for being beaten up. Dro tells Fido that the man who attacked him is known as the gladiator in the crime world. Fido realizes that this man is Maximo, who is still alive. Fido then kills Dro and asks his henchmen where Maximo and Leo are. Leo, feeling better, decides to go home despite Maria and Maximo's warnings. Maximo drives Leo home to keep him safe, only to find his younger brother, mother, and grandfather dead and covered in blood. Fido and his men are already there, and just as they are about to kill Leo, Maximo bursts in and saves him. Maximo fiercely fights Fido and his men. Fido escapes when an enraged Leo shoots at him. Maximo takes Leo back to Maria's house, where Maria treats his wounds. Maximo tells her that Fido knows he is still alive, which angers Maria because it jeopardizes their revenge plan. Maria tries to comfort a devastated Leo, who blames himself for his family's death. Leo, overwhelmed, locks himself in his room. When Maximo returns to his garage, Maria calls and warns him that Fido's henchmen are coming. Maximo prepares to face them using his combat skills and hitman experience. He defeats Fido's men single-handedly. Later, Maria provides Maximo with information about a man named Arqua, who manages Lucero's money laundering operations at a nightclub called Seven Rain. Arriving at Seven Rain, Maximo is stopped by guards because the place is closed. Ignoring their warnings, Maximo kills the guards and Arqua's henchmen. Maria had informed Maximo that all the cash at Seven Rain would be given to Lucero before the election, and the van carrying the money would arrive in 20 minutes. Maximo catches and beats Arqua, leaving a message and a cell phone for Lucero before taking all the cash. Rafa arrives at Seven Rain and is shocked by the scene. Arqua tells him everything, including Maximo's message and the cell phone he left. Maximo is shot while fighting Arqua's men, so Maria needs to remove the bullet. Maximo refuses, wanting to attack immediately as he expects Lucero to arrive soon. Concerned for Maximo, Leo injects an anesthetic so Maria can remove the bullet. Lucero arrives at Bar Arcona and asks Rafa to take him to Arqua. When he doesn't get the information he wants, Lucero brutally kills Arqua. Knowing Arqua's location through a tracking device connected to Maria's computer, Leo secretly takes a gun and goes to the location for revenge, thinking Fido must be there too. When Leo arrives, he points a gun at two men about to dispose of Arqua's body. Fido appears and beats Leo badly. Chilimo, also present, is surprised when Leo says Maximo will come for revenge, as Chilimo thought Maximo was dead. As Fido is about to kill Leo, Maria suddenly arrives and hits Fido. Seeing Leo severely injured, Maria takes him to the hospital. On the way, she tries to call Maximo, but he remains unconscious. One of Fido's men follows Maria to the hospital and informs Fido of her location. When Lucero learns that Maximo is still alive, he becomes furious and orders Fido to resolve the issue immediately. Meanwhile, Chilimo, aware of Maria's house location, goes there and encounters Maximo, who has regained consciousness. Chilimo suggests that Maximo should be the leader instead of Lucero's father, but since Maximo chose to leave the crime world and start a new life, Chilimo decides to serve Lucero. Maximo and Chilimo engage in a fierce fight due to their martial arts expertise. Maximo asks Chilimo where Lucero is. When Chilimo says something that angers Maximo, he stabs Chilimo to death. Maximo then heads to the hospital to check on Leo before confronting Lucero. Rafa, knowing Maximo is coming, informs Lucero to prepare. Maximo arrives and kills Lucero's men one by one, eventually entering a shootout. Rafa assists Maximo and helps him meet Lucero. One of Lucero's men throws a grenade at Maximo and Rafa. Maximo survives, but Rafa dies. Maximo finally confronts his stepbrother Lucero, who explains that his actions were driven by jealousy, as their father loved Maximo and Maria, adopted, more than him, his biological child. Maximo, however, is solely focused on avenging his son's death. Maximo and Lucero engage in a fierce katana duel. When Maximo gains the upper hand, Fido appears and takes Maria hostage. Distracted, Maximo is overpowered by Lucero. Maria, seeing this, tries to fight Fido but falls unconscious. Lucero orders Fido to finish off Maximo and plans to kill Maria. As Lucero is about to burn Maria, Maximo revives and kills Fido with a single deadly blow. Maria regains consciousness and joins the fight against Lucero. Together, Maximo and Maria attack Lucero, with Maximo stabbing him in the heart and Maria shooting him in the head, killing him. Afterward, Maximo and Maria pick up Leo from the hospital, who has recovered. They still have the cash from Lucero's money laundering,